to today's demonstration of the WTIN Textile Economics Intelligence channel. Now the Textile Economics channel can be found just over here under where we have listed the intelligence section of the website. To access that content, first we're going to have to sign in. So you can do that just in the top right hand corner over here. So I'm going to click that and just enter in some of my details here, my username and my password. Now if you also click Remember Me, that should keep you logged in on the same computer, so you won't have to do this every time. Now that I'm logged in, you can see it says Welcome Adam just in the top corner there. Now we can go onto the Textile Economics page and have a look at that. So you can see now everything on here is in regards to pricing information and all to do with the price movements and the trading positions of various fibers, yarns and fabrics across the textile industry. This channel also provides insight into all the economic factors that are going to impact businesses working across the textile industry and deliver reports to them to let them know what the current situations are for trading and these commodities around the world. The way that we report on all the commodity pricing on this page here is through a variety of different reports. So the first report that we'll take a look at is what we call the Executive Market Report. You can see just over here in the prices section. Now we publish this report every week, every Monday. You can see there is a PDF that opens up when I click on that link just on the previous page there when we press download, and that will open up typically on your browser, but if you want you can also download these. You can see over there is a link just to download that as a PDF file, so you can save that on your computer if you wish. Now like I said, this gets published every single Monday. We send this out in the form of a newsletter. So it gets emailed to the subscribers of this channel every Monday, so you don't actually have to go onto the channel page itself. You'll get this via an email, so you can open that up and just start taking a look at the report. Now, what the report starts with is the summary that you can see here. And what this will do every Monday is look versus the previous week and see how much those prices have changed by for firstly the most popular, most highly demanded different commodities that we're looking at here. So you can see that the green indicates that the price has gone down slightly, the red indicates that it's gone up, or the blue means that it stayed the same. Now that's just the summary there, looking at current week prices versus the previous weeks. But if you want more information, you can see we have all these different sections here. If I scroll down the page, just past some of the summary there, also explaining why these prices are what they are this week, you'll see that we then have these dedicated sections to each different area that we look at. So it starts with man-made fibers, and this you can see now compares week on week, the 16th of March versus the 9th of March, and you've got the different comparisons there and the different currencies listed just on the right there, so you can see how much it's changed in each individual currency there. Now this one here is from China, and you can see underneath we also have coverage for Taiwan. And then if I just go down again, this will then take us to the cotton section. So again you can see the week on week changes, the 16th versus the 9th, and all these different color codes, and this column here indicating what the changes are. Now quite a few different markets that we do cover there with the cotton. And then what our analysts tend to do for these different areas as well is also provide further analysis. So we feel it's very important, rather than just to say what the prices are, but actually explain why they are what they are. And that's what we do here in this further analysis, where we go into these figures and actually say what's affected those. And we examine a number of different factors here that you can see, talking about the supply and demand at the top there, and looking at these different countries and saying what's happened there for these prices to change. There are sometimes additional information. If you wanted to click that, that would take you to another article where you can see, in this instance, about cotton supply for the Indian market. I'll just scroll down again to the wool section. Now we do have another report dedicated to wool and specialty fibers. We've been publishing that report for a number of decades, and if I just go back to the main page, you'll see there is what we call the wool market report. Now it's very similar to the executive market report, and it also gets published every Monday, except that report focuses in greater detail on the wool and specialty fibers. And you can see those specialty fibers listed here as well. So things like cashmere, alpaca, silk, they're all listed on there. So the difference with the wool market report is that it looks further weeks, so really goes looking back, looking at the different seasons and the different auctions that are going on, and just giving you further information focused solely on those areas. But if you don't require that much level of detail for the wool and specialty fibers, you will still get a good amount of coverage in the executive market report that we're looking at now. Again, you've got further articles there if you do want to read into any of these different stories. You can click on those. That will take you to an article that will just explain a bit more. If I show you that one about the Cape Wools, so you can see there, just looking there year on year, up until the current 2017 and onwards. And we do have yarn coverage as well. You can see there again, just looking what those price changes are in the past week. Just keep scrolling down. We'll then get to our fabric section. So this one here again, looking at the fabrics now, but providing all that analysis about those different changes there. And then that's the end of the report there. So like I said, that gets published every Monday, so it's good to check that every week, see what the different price movements are. But if you do want a bit of a more long-term perspective, something else that we publish on the Textile Economics channel is another report here on the left-hand side, what we call the Textile Economics Monthly Reviews. Now I'll open up the latest one here for March. But what these are much more detailed monthly reports that look at not only the past months, but also an element of looking into the future as well. So providing an element of forecasting and saying what we expect these prices to move next, how we expect them to move next. And if I scroll down here, I'll just zoom in slightly as well. But you can see we start with China there, and what we'll be doing throughout this report and every month when we do publish these is look at all these major countries and talk about anything that's happened economically, or anything influenced perhaps by the government or anything like that, that's going to have a knock-on effect and affect textile production and prices in all these different countries. So we come back to that every month, look at these different figures, these different factors that are going to affect the pricing and production, and talk in detail about those and what we expect to see happening next. So quite a lot of information there. And that was the summary just at the start there, but then we do have these different sections that are dedicated then to looking in detail at each of these different countries. So they're talking about China. And I'm going to scroll down quite fast there just so we can get to the next one. If I just keep going down, you'll then see once we get past China, we then have the coverage for the US just underneath there. And it goes on like that. And if I just scroll down past all these different figures that we do have listed here, we then have Brazil as well, Pakistan, and any other countries that are worthwhile talking about and looking at the different production that's going on for textiles in these different markets. Compared to the executive market report, this is more of a long-term perspective. Good to review every month if you don't need those constant prices every week, These monthly reviews are a good way of staying on top of what's happening, these different market movements, without actually having to dedicate a huge amount of time to looking at those reports each week. You can come back to these every month and just have a top-down view of everything that's happening in the major countries around the world for textile production. Now, because we are publishing these prices every single week and keeping those prices updated, and with some of those different commodities, we've been doing that for a number of years. What you can also do is take a look at our Textile Economics data tool, which is over here. Now this is where we store all the historical pricing information, so if you did ever want to come and see how those prices have changed and get all the different price points across a number of years and see what the trends are and things like that, then you can actually use that tool to export any of the data and see for yourself any different queries that you might have about price movements over a certain range of time. Now, we are also happy to provide that if you prefer just to give us your request. And if you just want to send an email to support@wtin.com, a member of our support team for the website will be able to come back to you and provide any requests for any pricing information that way on an Excel form. It's up to you if you want to use the data tool or if you just want to ask us directly. It can be quite easy for us to send us through that data to you directly via email. Just a section underneath, we then have this area called Insight. Now what the Insight does, these are different articles that are going to be published every day, talking about, again, these different countries, these major producers of textiles, and talking about anything that's happening there from an economic standpoint that's going to affect textile production. So you can see there we have a few articles just on the right there about the Indian markets. On the left, there's the EU and the US just covered over there. Now, if we did want to look at any of these, we could click that. And these tend to further back up what we're saying in the different reports each week. So this here is talking about the projected US cotton supply and demand and how that's being revised. So this is explaining by our analyst, talking about why that's being revised and what it's being revised to. So this may be covered in the report itself, the different market reports or the monthly reports, but what we're doing in the Insight is giving further information in these different articles, talking about any of those individual points and saying what they mean, basically, just in an article format rather than a different market report. And then just going down, you'll see that we then have news coverage. Now this is basically saying everything else that's going on around the world for textile economics. So the Insight is looking at the bigger things that are happening, whereas the news is talking about everything else. So these might be the smaller things that are still going on, that are still good to stay aware of, but perhaps not as influential as the Insight articles might be talking about these different countries. So this is where you can get the coverage for everything else that's happening in terms of textile economics around the world. And then just the last thing on the page is the archived reports. So if you do want to see previous reports, both the wool market report and the executive market report, you can just hover over those and see those different dates over there. And then if you want to click on any of those, you'll be able to then download those reports as well. So that's just a good way of looking into the past and seeing how those prices have changed. Or you can use the data tool for that, or send us an email with your request, and we'll be happy to provide that information for you. Now, just something else I'm going to cover as well is if you do want to find any information that's been published in the past, maybe not in the form of any of the previous reports, but perhaps looking at the articles, what you can also do is use the search facility on the right-hand side here, and then you can actually limit this search per channel. So the channel that we're looking at is Textile Economics. So if we click on that, and then we can type in any search term of what we're looking for from within textile economics. So if it's a particular commodity, we can type in cotton and just see what's been published most recently about that particular area. And there you can see the results all about cotton. Now you can also use that search facility, not only search for different commodities, but if you want to know perhaps about different countries, what you could also do is type in a country name there. And if we just search for Pakistan, I can press submit, and then we're going to see all the articles there that are talking and mentioning Pakistan. So that's looking in the past and seeing all the articles that have already been published and looking at our archive. But what you can do if you want to set up alerts going forwards, we do have a feature here called the Watchlist just in the top right hand corner. And this is a way of choosing what you want to stay updated about from all the different sections on the Textile Economics page. So here you can actually see you've got different sectors that you can choose from. So all these different fibers, yarns and fabrics are listed there, and you can open up any of these different types here. But if you prefer, if there's a particular commodity that you want to keep track of, you can actually use a keyword instead. So if we perhaps say cotton again, we can add that as a keyword, and then this watch list is going to look for any mention of cotton. And then what it will do is send you an email on the days that you choose at the bottom here, containing all the articles that mention the word cotton. Now, you can make that a lot more specific if you want. So you can filter that with a theme. So the theme, if you're focused on textile economics, would probably be markets and prices and perhaps trade as well. So you can click those two just to focus the information a bit more. And then you can also use any regional coverage if you want to look and focus on particular geographies around the world. You can also use these filters. If you don't select any, then it's going to just give you worldwide coverage. So you're going to get everything that's mentioning cotton in terms of trade and prices. Now all you need to do after that is just save the watch list as something quite relevant. So if we say cotton coverage, something like that, and then all we need to do is press save, and that's going to add that as a new watch list just at the top here. You can see there. Now you can have as many watch lists as you want, so if you do want to focus on different commodities, you could do that all in one watch list, or you could have several watch lists separate to each other that are all focusing on different commodities, different areas. And how that works is that it will send you an email. It will just be one email, but you'll have multiple watch lists on one email, and you'll be able to see with those different names that you've given them how they'll be split up on the email. So it's just one email, but with all the areas that you want to keep track of. The watch list is the best way to do that. Now I think that covers everything on the Textile Economics page. If you do have any questions or you require any support or any assistance with your account, do feel free to contact sales@wtin.com, and a member of our team will be happy to help you. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.